Lift every voice and sing. 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 Lift every voice and sing.
Welcome to the CAAAS Conversations. I am your host, Reiland Rabaka, founder and director of the Center for African and African American Studies, which we call the CAAAS, here at the University of Colorado Boulder. Today, we are joined by our inaugural associate director. Today, we are joined by our inaugural associate director of the Center for African and African American Studies, Mr. John Robinson Miller IV. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. It is. I get to be a part of the background of the show, so it's good to be the person who really is there to I'm here to answer questions.
Yes.
We'll do a little bit.
So this show is dedicated to livicated, actually, because we believe in life and not death. This show is livicated to John Robinson Miller IV, and I just wanted to highlight some of the sort of ragtag cast of characters around the cause who are helping us create this incredible new center here at the University of Colorado Boulder. And without further ado, to the questions. Yes, here we go.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional background?
Absolutely. First of all, what's up, y'all? I am John Robinson Miller IV. I use he, him pronouns. I have a lot of self-definitions. I am a husband to an amazing man. I am a dog parent. I am a son. I am a grandson. I tend to take my life things title first. I am also the associate director. I do this higher education work for a living, but it's important for me to center my humanhood first. So I can't start my professional background without actually talking just a briefly bit about where I came from. I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, and have family Ellery, Santee, but also in the mountains of North Carolina as well. And that really started my journey into Blackness. There is a very specific understanding growing up as a 90s kid in Charleston, South Carolina, when everybody is taking, trips to go to the touristy parts, and I'm living there. It is one thing to go to the market to go get, your art or your, I don't know, because Black folks have been pushed out of the actual sellers in the market, but to then know that it's an actual slave market, literally, we have actually tracked my ancestors coming through that particular market.
Wow.
So that really started. So I grew up in Blackness, Black church, Black mama, Black daddy, really helped grounded me into what this Blackness was, though I still had a strange conception growing up. I think we all have different conceptions. I moved to Charlotte in high school, and then I went to NC State University for my undergrad, go Pack. And then I went into my grad, but that really started my professional journey. I was in psychology, I was in entrepreneurship, I was a dancer, I was going to do all these things, and I was super involved. And then one of my mentors was like, you can do this for a living, right? You can engage with college students for a living. And I was like, what? So then I went on to get my master's in higher education administration. I focused on diversity and inclusion, particularly at the intersection of Blackness and queerness at PWIs. And then from there, I worked at NC State, I worked at Duke University, I worked at Elon University, and now I am here. So that is a little bit of my professional background in a nutshell.
Okay, and we are delighted to have you here. Welcome to the University of Colorado Boulder, and most especially, welcome to the cause. Here we go. Next question. What does it mean for you to be selected as the inaugural associate director of the Center for African and African American Studies, and specifically the program manager of the CAAAS Student Services Program? What attracted you to the cause in particular, and CU Boulder in general?
Absolutely. So Black cultural work is what I do. Even if I wasn't doing it on a college campus, I would be doing it wherever I I need to be doing it. And it means a lot to me. So I'm a culture center kid. I think back to my undergrad and the role that a Black culture center played in my life. And then understanding that this is new. This energy is new. The ability to then impact lives is new, and I really wanted to be a part of that. Understanding that there is a 2% Black student population. There's like a 2% Black population in Boulder, and not much more in the surrounding areas. So I think that this area particularly needs additional infrastructure. I absolutely have to nod and honor all of the people who came before me doing this work. Right. But Black people have existed here for so long, and I am excited to be able to create a community, to co-create a community that hopefully will shift people from just surviving into more thriving. People get to know themselves more. You have the space to know yourselves more. You have the space to explore what it means to be Black historically, what it means to be Black individually, spiritually, emotionally, all of these things. And for the people who are Black allies and hopefully accomplices to then understand what is their relationship and proximity to Blackness and how we can all do more for liberation. Because once we liberate it, true liberation means that we're liberating everyone. And I just happen to focus on Blackness intersectionally, but like Blackness is my main focus. So that it means everything. Like I was able to speak to students, I was able to speak to other faculty and staff members, and to really understand that this is where I need to be.
Excellent. Well, again, as you know, I'm a professor of African American and Caribbean studies. And so again, one of the things that's at the heart of African American studies is we want to make sure, especially in spaces like this, when you're rattling off that, again, Boulder only has about 2% Black folk. We want to make sure then that people outside of Black America understand that Blackness is more than a color. We're talking about a culture. So here goes the next question. You know where I'm going with this, Doc.
I do.
Listen, when did you first discover African and African American studies? What initially attracted you to African and African American studies?
So I'll have two responses to that. My first is, like I said before, born Black, Black mama, Black daddy. And my mom particularly was really intentional about me getting in front of Blackness, not just as a commodity, but as a culture, as understanding the diaspora. So I would say I was born into Black studies. I didn't realize that Black studies was a thing until much later on. So I will say, like, probably college as in my undergraduate as my first kind of understanding of Blackness, being involved with the Black Cultural Center, which had an academic component to it, taking we had African and African American studies, or Africana studies at NC State, and really understanding that I couldn't. What I felt like I was studying in class was not the complete picture for me. I always felt like there was something missing. And it was really the Black professors who also happened to be, also teaching in Africana studies that were also teaching in my psych classes or my English classes or like whatever I was taking at the time, who really helped me gain a bigger picture of what I was really trying to learn and really trying to grasp. So I think that's my first conception is, I took Africana studies classes, but I would say it was the professors who, had to dual, right? They had to do it all. They had to do their field and Africana studies that really helped me understand what Africana studies was and how critical and crucial it is to just understanding people, particularly Black people, but people.
What you're saying is it really resonates with me, because you yourself are saying that part of your, let's say, initiation, part of your real, like when you really have that aha moment, ooh, this is about more than a color. This is about a culture, a politics, a spirituality, a way of life, a worldview, what we call a cosmology, if I can give you one of my $10 words for you. John, so do you understand, like, the college then experience? You and I both went to predominantly white institutions, what we call PWIs, but yet we develop these very nuanced and deep, if you will, relationships to African and African American culture, the African diaspora, and so on and so forth. And now, Brother John, this is what we do for a living now, though. We sit up here and help young folk explore their Africanity, explore their Blackness, and as you pointed out, this is the cause. We are open to helping our allies and accomplices explore Africa, Africanity, and Blackness. Come on, let's have a conversation.
Absolutely. And I think what I want to get to the place is to move away from, like at PWI specifically, a lot of people kind of discover their Blackness through tragedy. They discover it through whatever their encounter is. If you know, we're talking about Cross, whatever.
Dr. Cross,
you already know it, Dr. Cross.
My man.
But like, I think people tend to come to terms with it through this like tragedy, through whether it's enslavement or through the recent protests or through this kind of whatever the strife is. And you can come at it from joy as well. And I think
love.
And love. And I think that is what I am grateful to. I gotta thank Black women, because the Black women in my life, started from my mama on, have really shared the love part of Black, right? And that is because it's not easy, but
not at all.
Love makes it a little easy. Like sometimes if we having tough race conversations all day, every day.
Yep.
But I'm not drained because it's from a place of love.
Good.
And that's critical.
This is so beautiful. For me, what I'm doing and like creating the cause and working with the incredible student co-founders, Ruth Walder-Michael, Korea White, Andrea Fryer, Isaiah Chabos, working with them. When you start talking about your experience of, you understood that that the Black faculty, that African American and African faculty were doing a double duty on the campus. So these are my students in the classroom, and they're getting a chance to work with me on an important extracurricular, co-curricular project, creating the cause, creating the Center for African and African American Studies. We all see each other differently. And they taught me, I'm going to get it on record again, they taught me so much, right? They are my teachers. So yes, I'm their teacher
every day, but
they are also my teachers. And so you're absolutely correct. Yes, there are some days where you and I are exhausted, but I'm gonna just say that for me, I'm actually experiencing more inspiration than exhaustion.
Yeah.
At this point. Now, if you had talked to me when I was trying to write up, when I was trying to write up that proposal and gonna go talk to all of these high-level administrators to try to get this thing off the ground, I mean, that was incredibly exhausting. But now that I've come through on the other side, I feel like Mahalia Jackson. Now that how I got over.
How I got over.
Oh, you don't hear me today. Okay, you know what I mean?
What you talking about?
So all I'm saying is that I think this is that moment, John, when we start talking about the exhaustion of sort of doing this work, but also the inspiration. Talking to you right now, young Seth, is a moment of celebration. This is one of those sweet moments. This is one of those moments on the faculty side, the trauma and drama of being a Black faculty on the Boulder campus. But what about those moments of joy, like the joys of teaching, like how I love, right, coming on the campus right now and rolling up to Mackey Auditorium and seeing our suite of offices, John. I mean, I have not experienced that in 17 years, that kind of, now again, I'm always hyped in the classroom. So if I could just, pardon me, John, if I could just make it from my car to whatever lecture hall, I had to pray to get through, because you never know what kind of microaggression I'm going to experience when I get to the campus. People going to double take, look at me like, huh? And everything. But once I get to the lecture hall, I came to turn this mother out, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those kinds of things. But you know what? I'm gonna get back to the question, man. You and I can do this all day.
We can do
long.
this all day. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every day, you and I be sitting around doing this up in the cars. Here we go, John. what is Black Student Services? How would you define and explain it? How does your relationship with African and African American studies inform your conception of Black Student Services work?
Absolutely. So Black Student Services, I think for the people who are really trying to wrap their mind around it, just take the words as they are, Black Student Services. Because we have to understand that the history of higher education is built on the needs of the white male, particularly at the intersection of like higher social economic status, particularly Christian for the most part, and the rest of us were not a part of that original conception. So then, as we start to learn and start to develop places, and as Black students start to go to these schools, as Black students start to then, as HBCUs or historically Black college and universities start to be created, we then see that the needs of Black students are different than the needs of white students, and that everything from not only student services, but the theories in which we do these things to support students all have this lens of whiteness around them. Wow. So Black Student Services really is about, what do Black students need on my campus?
Come on.
Now, there are some general things that we can say, but we have to think about our campus. What does it mean for us to be in Colorado, to be in Boulder, to be for us to be in the building where Lucille Buchanan could not walk across the stage, but sat in the back of the auditorium? What does it mean for the university?
Couldn't even go at all. No, it was segregated. And 1918 couldn't even go to the graduation ceremonies.
But like, and what does it mean to walk across campus and not see Black people? What does it mean to, like, all these things we have to keep in contact? And then you're experiencing all these microaggressions, all these things, but then you're expected to perform the same, if not better than your
peers.
At
a higher level, I would tell you.
At a higher level, with no affirmation, with no love, with only caring about your intellectual self, but not your humanness or your socialness or your mama. Like I bring in womanist principles and practices into what I do.
Come on.
When I see a Black student in front of me, I'm also talking to their mama, their grandmama, their guardian. They like, I think about, like, even for me, and my grandfather, who was the first to become a manager at his bakery and integrate, literally could not buy a Coke from the vending machine. And that still sits with me. Yeah. And then I was expected to go into my classes and to go into this world with people who do not understand that history. Okay. So I think Black Student Services, to wrap that up, is about unpacking what we need to unpack about culture, about policy, about administration, and supporting in the way that we need to support, in a way that is interconnected, in a way that is love-based, in a way that is strength-based. And whatever that means, right? We have to understand the mental health part of it, and understand that college students right now are having more significant mental health negative experiences than ever before. And what do our counseling centers look like? What do our, advising look like? What do all these things? Like, when you look at every metric of well-being, Black folks tend to do the worst when we're using white metrics, right? And yet, every Black person who was on I'm not gonna say every, I'm not gonna generalize. A lot of Black people who had a full and round experience can point to one person whose either job it was to support them or whose job it wasn't to support them, but they still supported them. That's Black Student Services.
Okay.
What we're trying to do is just institutionalize that support. I don't want to do it on my emotional back. I don't want to do it, sacrificing my tenure, the tenure process, sacrificing my anything. I want to health, my well-being. I want to do it institutionally. I want everybody from all the way up to the Board of Regents, all the way down to peers. Not even down, because we're not even going to do the hierarchy. I want everybody out to peers.
Good.
To internalize what it is to support everybody, but particularly from my perspective, for Black folks.
John, this is so powerful because, again, after being here 17 years, I have heard a lot of abstract theorizations of Black people, of Black students, of Black faculty, of Black staff on this campus. And Black Student Services actually concretizes that and makes it real and practical, something you can, with your 5 senses, you can touch it, taste it, smell it, all that kind of thing. Black student, I mean, this is the way I was conceiving of your position, John, is that I understand that I've got to be out and hustling to try to raise an endowment and fundraise and do all the, I'm running the research program. I'm running the arts program. I wanted somebody, 24/7, right? 365 days out of the year, that they are completely and utterly, exclusively devoted to the needs of Black students on the Boulder campus. You are a dream come true. When I look in your little Zoom box right now, you are a blessing. You are a blessing to the University of Colorado at Boulder. I hope your mom and them see this, John. You are a blessing to the Center for African and African American Studies. You are a blessing to Black folk in Boulder County and the Denver metropolitan area, to our allies and our accomplices. So I just want to make sure this is like my little love letter to you, kind brother, beautiful brother of mine, beloved brother. You're right. I want to make sure that you continue to do what you do at a very, very high level. The student response has been tremendous to the kind of programming, the kind of ideas, the way that you're working with them very sensitively. You, right? John, this has I don't know, man. I don't know. This is a whole new world. This is a brave new world in Boulder, Colorado. Let's go on to the next question. Tell us a little bit about the Association for Black Cultural Centers, ABCC. What is it? How long have you been a member of it? How has the Association for Black Cultural Centers influenced you and your work as a Black Student Services Specialist? Will you be going to the annual ABCC conference this year? If so, will you be taking any CAAAS students with you?
Absolutely. I got to pull this question up so I can hit all the points. So the Association of Black Cultural Centers, it's important to note that this Black Cultural Center work in its formal capacity has been happening since the 50s and 60s. Yeah. Since inceptions of the Black Power movement, Black Cultural Centers have been supporting, energizing, affirming, advising, doing all this Black student services work. And the Association of Black Cultural Centers is a place for Black cultural centers and other multicultural racially affinity spaces to come together and to share, right? So the people, if we've been doing this, there are centers who have been here for 50 years. Right down the road, there are people who have been there at UNC in Greeley. So I think they're having their 40th anniversary. Yes, they're one of the oldest Black cultural centers.
1983, if I'm correct. He's talking about the University of Northern Colorado. Because if you say UNC and you from Carolina, people might get it twisted in Colorado. You know what I mean? So we got to break down some of these acronyms.
Yes, shout out to the dynamic Black woman who is the director over there, Dr. Janine Weaver Douglas, who was one of my personal mentors, one of my best friends, the officiant at my wedding, who really took somebody who was fresh out of grad school and invested and showed them a way of how to support Black students unapologetically. I gotta say that word again, unapologetically. You know, my country tongue, I gotta,
unapologetically.
I gotta clarify, aesthetically. But it's folks from all around the country who come together and share experiences on what it is to build. So for us, we're gaining so much information just being in their presence of just what it is to, what aspects of this Black Cultural Center, of this Center for African and African American Studies place do we want to bring, everywhere from like facilities to programming to research to art. Like it's all, we can't act like this ain't been done before.
Thank you.
And
there's no need to reinvent the wheel though.
So there's no need.
What you and I are doing is building on some of the best models for Black cultural centers out there. And John, now what is radical? You can't hear me. What is radical is doing that in Boulder, Colorado. That has never been done before. holla if you hear me. That has they gonna know that I was out here when I'm long gone, John. They will know that we was out here, that we created something. We're building a monument. They will know black people. Wow, black people been Boulder like this. Come on now, ABCC anymore?
ABCC, absolutely. So, and these are people who are mentors or are mentoring each other, and it's regardless of position or place or space or whatever it is. These are people, and so there's an annual conference, but there's also meetups. And the annual conference is, I've been to conferences before, but when I tell you the love that you feel, the ceremony, the tradition, the innovation, the investing in Black lives that you feel is like none other. And that's why I love ABCC. That's why we'll continue going back. That's why we are a part of ABCC, and we will continue to be a part of ABCC, because we're a part of this larger community of people who are doing this liberatory work. And so, and when it comes to the annual conference in November, we will be going. We will also be having slots for students to go, because I think it's really important for us to meet other people.
That's right.
To not only, like, we are not in the business of being the keepers of the solutions. Yeah. That's very Eurocentric. We are here to work with people, to work with Black students, to work with administration, so we can all make not only this college campus a better place, but make our communities that we exist in a better place, to rectify our history and to reconcile and to do it with love and honor. And that is what ABCC is built on, is to be this connection point, be this hub for the people who are doing it all across. I also shout out Janine. I got to shout out Sean Palmer, Reverend Sean Palmer at UNCW, so the United States of North Carolina at Wilmington, who is also one of my mentors and an amazing director there. And I got to shout out Mama Thorpe, who on day one of me being on my PWI, looked me dead in my face and said, "You gonna come see me?" and now here I am. So yes, that is and that is kind of ABCC and what this work is in a nutshell.
So beautiful. Listen, since you run around doing these shout outs, let me shout out my mentor, who is the founder of the Association of Black Cultural Centers. His name is Dr. Fred Horde, Dr. Fred Lee Horde, who took me under his wing and has been mentoring me. And really, I would not be here. There would be no CAAAS if there was not ABCC and its founder, Fred Horde, Professor Fred Horde, who really had pity on a poor, humble little guy at the projects, and really just really encouraged me to be very, very ambitious and to actually love this work. One of my favorite rap artists, his name is Talib Kweli. Talib Kweli, my favorite album by Talib Kweli is called The Beautiful Struggle. And I actually find joy and beauty in the struggle. One of my favorite books is by Nelson Mandela. It's called The Struggle Is My Life. I don't know a life outside of this struggle, John, and I find beauty, joy, inspiration. Look, brother, I get a chance to meet you and greet you and work with you, all doing this kind of work. So it's not all tragic. I'm talking about the triumph of the cause. I'm talking about how it feels good to walk in the Mackey Auditorium right now and see our little suite of offices, John. I'm talking about the triumph, not the tragedy. We got to deal with that. But at the same time, we also need to redirect some of our focus, some of our energy, and into how we triumphed over tragedy. Let's go to the next question so we can wrap it up soon. Listen, John, I'm finna geek out for you. Watch this, man. Listen, what kinds of events and activities can we look forward to from the CAAAS Student Services Program?
Absolutely. So there are so many that we can start to look forward to. I'm excited. I'm excited just thinking about it. So starting in fall, we are going to be having our film series, our arts performance series. We have in student services, we have what we're calling the Sankofa thread. So understanding that we're going to be sharing culture and affirmation through storytelling. So shout out. So I need all the first years and all the people who haven't quite heard it yet. we're going to be having some storytelling sessions in which is going to be about how you navigate what it is to be on a PWI with affirmation and love. It is terrifying, right?
Yeah.
It is harmful and hurtful sometimes. And you can come and refill and recharge. And that also goes for the parents as well, because we can't leave them out of here. Like
And the
these,
grandparents.
and the grandparents,
And the partners, and the
guardians,
community.
and
Come on.
and everybody. And we want to be a touch point. So in the very beginning, we're going to open our doors for our open house. Well, our series of open houses, in which we're going to welcome you all into the space. This is for literally every population, and we'll have different kind of setups to where you can actually see the space, see what we're going to offer. So we have our living room in the CAAAS, which is literally just a place to chill. Like it's a place to, if you want to grab your lunch, if you just want to come and meet people, if you need to come and take a nap, like it is your living room.
And the music and the dance of the living room.
And the music and the dance
in the living room.
And additional programming and the book signings and all the other stuff that we'll have there. But really it's the heart, it's the soul. It's where you hear, it's where you will walk into Mackey and you will hear the Blackness in the hallways come on. We have our learning lounge. So we all know that we need spaces to study. So this will be a place to tuck away and study. We have our student wellness area, which we will have once a week for a couple hours. A Black psychologist actually come to give Black services to Black people. And that is really important in understanding the mental health needs of our Black students today, undergrad and our graduate students as well. We have, every time I think about it, we will have poetry readings, we will have performances, we will have random dance classes. We will be using not only the CAAAS space, but outside in the field. We will have cookouts. We will have also places and spaces to understand what may be happening in your African studies, in your ethnic studies classes. You'll be able to live it in the CAAAS.
Beautiful.
And we are open to that. We are partnering with the living learning community in the Buchanan to be able to extend that Blackness into additional residential spaces. We're doing a lot of stuff to make this a holistic, immersive experience, and not just one that you visit, for an hour a week and then you go back to what is flat and what is normal.
Beautiful. And at the same time, we just did Lunch on the CAAAS, which
Yes.
Again, looks like it's going to be a staple because so many people came through. But this is where we provide lunch, literally on the center. So we give students lunch. And some students are saying, "Hey, Dr. Rabaka, can we have that every day?" It's like, I don't know, we got the budget for that, but I'm gonna talk to Mrs. John Robinson Miller to see if we can get that for you. But at least I would like to think probably at least once a week we will be having just an open house where people can come through over a 3-hour period. John, it was so nice, right? It was so nice.
It was nice. People were just saying, and that's gonna then bleed into what we're looking towards for the future, which is our mentorship program, our symposium program, our ambassador program, like what it is to be an ambassador of the CAAAS.
Traveling while Black.
Traveling while Black, and what it is
abroad.
to go abroad.
Right. Our scholarships, right? And you've already shouted out to Lucille, Berkeley, Buchanan Living and Learning Community, which we will be partnering with the Department of Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies, right? The LGBTQ Center.
Absolutely.
Like, so again, we're not the Black police. Any kind of way that you Black, you can do that in the CAAAS, right? This is open. Ain't nobody the Black popo. We're not policing the boundaries and borders of Blackness. You can't do that in Boulder anyway. Have you been out here see all these geeky people, John? Y'all better stop me. Last question. I know we got to wrap it up. Check this out. I know that there will be student workers in the student services program. What role will undergraduate and graduate student workers play in the CAAAS Student Services Program?
Absolutely. So undergraduate students will be an active agent, if that makes any sense. Everybody is an agent. Everybody is an actor, but there will be an active agent in helping bridge the CAAAS communities to the larger communities. So, like, yes, they'll have desk shifts, but they'll also be helping with programming, helping with digital engagement, helping with trainings and education. It'll be the opportunity to be the training ground for what is professional but not respectable? What is to get to be able to work in a Black space?
Yeah.
And to then learn that and then leave with that. At the end, this is not just for employees, but for everybody. If you start in your first year, if you are only your holistic Black self in the CAAAS, then we have failed you. It is about learning and getting a foundation and what that means and looks like to then go out in the world. And then for graduate students, we will still offer those same opportunities, but also with education and training, we'll be offering places and spaces for you to also engage with other faculty members with research, for you to be connected with resources, both monetarily and what is the larger word? What is that kind of larger intergenerational resources of the community?
Yeah,
so it is not just for you to come and not like come and work, but it's to come and see how what you are doing intellectually fits in with this larger picture. And that is regardless of what your program is. You'll be able to come and really help get this lens about what it means for you to either be a Black scholar or potentially for you to do scholarship on Black communities or with Black communities, excuse me. And for you to do it in a space that is loving and exciting, and a place of respite and a place of peace, but also will challenge you in really good and intentional ways that we all need to.
Because real education does, right? It should not only excite you, but it should challenge you. It should help you grow and develop to your fullest potential, which again, a lot of times African Americans, African people in the Western Hemisphere, we haven't really experienced that, right? And been able to explore that because of the constant trauma and drama that we're often experiencing. Jen, I also just want to shout out with the grad students in particular, when we start talking about fellowships, scholarships, various conference travel awards, ways that we can support them.
Absolutely.
We're not simply talking about social science and natural science. We're also talking about the arts and the humanities. Again, the director of the CAAAS has a BFA, right, in jazz studies. So again, you're looking at an art, like I like African-American studies. I like Africana studies, African studies, because I don't have to be like quarantined to one little, no, the CAAAS is transdisciplinary. It is intersectional. It is a space where artists and intellectuals and activists and alumni and allies and accomplices all can come together under one roof on the Boulder campus, John. This has never happened before. Come on. John, closing thoughts. I got to wrap it up. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. I will leave you with three things. The first is a proverb. I am because you are therefore I am, which is Ubuntu. I'll say it again. I am because you are therefore I am. I see myself in you. Hopefully you can see yourself in me. We are here together. We are in this together. It is more than just a degree. It is more than just a check, right? It is this interconnected moment. The second one is, it is not taboo to go back and fetch that which you have forgotten. Sankofa. Sankofa, we got to go back and get it. Whether we knew it or not, we got to find it. And I always like to leave with this. If nobody has said I love you today, I love you.
Love you too, John, beloved brother of mine. Hey, y'all have been tuning in to the CAAAS Conversation with our inaugural Associate Director of the Center for African and African American Studies, John Robinson Miller IV. I'm Reiland Rabaka, and we want to thank you very much for watching the CAAAS Conversations.
Protect your magic.
Lift every voice and sing. Lift every